Noah. For many, this name evokes the image of an old man with a long white beard, building a massive wooden ark. But what if I told you that Noah was much more than that? Imagine an ordinary man like you and me, living in a corrupt and violent society, where morality was in decline and evil prevailed. Now, imagine this man receiving a mission from God so audacious and impossible that, if fulfilled, it would forever change the course of humanity. Noah was not just an ark builder. He was a visionary, a spiritual leader, and a precursor of unwavering faith. His story is not just about a boat and a flood. It is about courage, obedience, and the ability to believe in the impossible. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through Noah's life, discover the challenges he faced, and how his faith can inspire and transform our own lives today. Noah lived in difficult times. The earth was corrupt, filled with violence, and humanity had strayed from God's ways. Amid this chaos, God chose Noah, a righteous and blameless man, for an extraordinary mission. Imagine Noah's astonishment when he heard God's voice commanding him to build a gigantic ark to save his family and a sample of all animal species from the impending flood. It was not a simple task. It required not only construction skills but an unwavering faith in a divine promise that seemed absurd to human eyes. Noah, however, did not question. He accepted the divine call with total obedience, showing us the true meaning of fully trusting God, even when circumstances seem impossible. Noah's call teaches us about the importance of listening to and obeying God, even when it leads us into unknown paths and immense challenges. He was not deterred by difficulties or by the criticism of those around him. Noah had a clear mission and knew that if God had chosen him, he would also provide the means to fulfill that mission. This story reminds us that often, God calls us to tasks that seem far beyond our capabilities. Noah shows us that with faith and perseverance, we can achieve things we never imagined possible. Building the ark was an act of faith and obedience that required years of hard work and dedication. Imagine Noah's daily trials, facing the scorn and disbelief of his contemporaries while hammering nails and cutting wood, day after day, without seeing a single drop of rain. His family also had to share this faith and dedication, supporting him in the divine mission. This family cooperation is a powerful testimony of how shared faith can strengthen bonds and help overcome enormous obstacles. Noah's call is an invitation to reflect on our own lives. What challenges do we face that seem impossible to overcome? How can we respond to the divine calls we feel in our hearts? Noah's story encourages us not to give up, to believe that with God, everything is possible. He shows us that obedience and faith are the keys to overcoming life's storms and achieving God's promises, even when everything around us seems to say otherwise. Building the ark was a monumental project that tested Noah's faith and determination in unimaginable ways. Imagine receiving an order to build a colossal boat with detailed dimensions and specifications in a time when humanity had never seen anything like it. The ark had to be capable of housing a vast number of animals, in addition to Noah and his family, and withstand a flood that would cover the entire earth. Noah, without questioning, began to work, showing that his faith was not just theoretical but practical. He knew that God was with him, and this certainty fueled his perseverance and dedication. Each hammer blow, each plank placed in its place was an act of faith. Noah was not just following God's instructions. He was putting his heart and soul into every detail. He knew that the survival of his family and future generations depended on his meticulous obedience. During this period, he also had to manage resources, plan food storage, and ensure that the ark was ready to withstand the coming storms. The logistics were immense, but Noah did not waver. He worked day after day, motivated by the divine promise and the hope of a new and better future. Building the ark was also a time of trial and testimony. While Noah worked, he also preached to his contemporaries about the imminent judgment and the need for repentance. Unfortunately, his words fell on deaf ears. People mocked him, considering him crazy. Noah, however, was not discouraged. He continued his work, knowing he was fulfilling God's will. This determination teaches us to maintain our faith and principles, even when we face opposition and misunderstanding. Noah gives us a lesson in resilience and practical faith. He did not wait for visible signs of rain to start building. He trusted God's words and acted. This inspires us to take steps of faith in our own lives, even when the results are not immediately visible. Noah shows us that true faith is accompanied by concrete actions and tireless dedication, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. He reminds us that with God by our side, we can face any storm and achieve great things. As the construction of the ark progressed, Noah and his family had to face the challenge of preparing for the impending flood. The ark was not just a big boat. It had to be a safe and sustainable refuge for humans and animals during the time they would be isolated from the outside world. This meant carefully planning the space for each animal species, ensuring they had the right environment to survive and reproduce. The logistics involved were colossal, and Noah had to think of every detail, from ventilation to food and water storage. The preparation process also involved collecting and storing a vast amount of food and supplies. Noah and his family had to ensure they had enough to feed themselves and all the animals during the flood. This meant cultivating, harvesting, and storing food efficiently and durably. In addition, they had to ensure that the animals, many of whom were unfamiliar to them, had the conditions needed to survive. The task was monumental, but Noah's dedication and faith in fulfilling God's instructions were unwavering. While preparing the ark, Noah and his family also had to deal with the disbelief and scorn of the people around them. Imagine the emotional difficulty of being ridiculed daily for believing in something no one else could see or understand. Noah, however, remained firm in his faith and continued his work with determination. He knew he was fulfilling a divine mission and that the salvation of his family and the earth's creatures depended on his obedience and perseverance. Preparing for the flood offers us valuable lessons for our own lives. Just as Noah had to plan and prepare for the future, we are called to be prudent and diligent in our undertakings. The story teaches us the importance of preparation, hard work, and trusting God to face future challenges. Noah shows us that even in the face of adversity and ridicule, faith and obedience to God can enable us to achieve the impossible and prepare for the trials that may come. While Noah dedicated himself to building the ark, he faced not only the physical challenges of the task, but also the opposition and ridicule of his contemporaries. Imagine living in a society where everyone, except you and your family, is immersed in corruption and evil. Noah preached about repentance and warned of impending judgment, but his words fell on deaf ears. People mocked him, calling him crazy for building a giant boat on dry land, where there was no sign of rain. This negative reaction could have discouraged anyone, but Noah remained steadfast in his mission. The world's reaction to Noah's project highlights the difference between faith and disbelief. While the people around trusted only what they could see and understand, Noah trusted God's unseen promises. This dichotomy between limited human vision and unwavering faith is a powerful lesson for us. Noah shows us that true faith often requires us to go against the tide, trusting God even when the world around us cannot comprehend our actions. The emotional and psychological challenges Noah faced were also immense. Besides the physical demands of construction, he had to deal with loneliness and spiritual isolation. Imagine the weight of being the only one in your generation to hear and obey God. Noah found strength in his faith and the certainty that he was fulfilling a greater purpose. This unshakable determination teaches us the importance of maintaining our faith and values, even when we are misunderstood or ridiculed by society. The world's reaction to Noah's project challenges us to reflect on our own faith and resilience. Do we face situations where our beliefs and actions are questioned? How do we react to ridicule and opposition? Noah inspires us to remain steadfast, reminding us that obedience to God is more important than human approval. His story encourages us to be courageous in our faith, to persevere in our divine goals, and to trust that, in the end, God will honor our obedience and reward us. As the construction of the ark neared its end, one of the most extraordinary moments in Noah's story began to happen: the arrival of the animals. God had promised to save Noah, his family, and a sample of all animal species from the coming flood. Imagine the scene: animals from all parts, from majestic giraffes to tiny ants, arriving in pairs, ready to board the ark. This supernatural event was a powerful sign of God's providence and control over all creation. For Noah and his family, seeing all these animals arriving spontaneously must have been a moment of confirmation and encouragement amid so many challenges. The presence of the animals in the ark represented the continuation of life after the flood. Each species brought with it the hope of a new beginning, a restart of the biodiversity that God had planned for the earth. The logistics of accommodating and caring for so many different animals were also a great challenge. Noah had to ensure that each animal had adequate space and conditions to survive during the time they would spend on the ark. Noah's dedication and care for the animals reflect his faith and responsibility in precisely fulfilling God's plan. Besides representing the physical salvation of species, the inclusion of animals in the ark also had profound spiritual symbolism. They were a constant reminder of God's order and balance in creation, a testament to his intention to restore and renew life on earth after judgment. Noah, in caring for the animals, also reflected the role of steward of creation, a responsibility that reminds us even today. The story teaches us the importance of caring for the environment and the creatures we share the planet with, recognizing that we are all part of God's greater plan. The promise of salvation through the animals aboard the ark offers us several spiritual lessons. It reminds us that even in times of judgment and destruction, God always has a plan for redemption and renewal. He cares about every detail of creation and calls us to be collaborators in the care and restoration of the world around us. Noah's faith and obedience to the divine call encourage us to trust God's plans, even when we do not fully understand them, knowing that He always has our well-being in mind. Finally, the moment Noah and his family had been waiting for, and the world around them had ridiculed, arrived. The first drops of rain began to fall, and soon turned into a torrential downpour. It was the beginning of an unprecedented catastrophe, an event that would forever change the course of humanity. Noah, his family, and all the animals were safe inside the ark, but outside, the scene was one of total destruction. Imagine the sound of the rising waters, the shock of the people realizing too late the seriousness of Noah's warnings. The water rose quickly, covering everything in sight, and the ark began to float, starting a journey that would last 40 days and 40 nights of relentless rain. Inside the ark, the atmosphere was one of tension and hope. Noah and his family had to keep faith and calm while facing the literal and figurative storm around them. The constant rocking of the ark, the deafening sound of the rain, and the noise of the violent waters created a challenging environment. But at the same time, the ark was a symbol of protection and safety, a refuge provided by God amid the chaos. This duality of feeling fear and, at the same time, gratitude for divine protection is something many of us can relate to in our personal and spiritual storms. The flood also brought a profound transformation to the world. The waters cleansed the corruption and evil that dominated the earth, paving the way for a new beginning. This act of purification and renewal reminds us of times when we face devastating challenges that, although painful, end up bringing new perspectives and a fresh start. Noah's journey through the flood is a powerful reminder that sometimes we need to go through storms to reach the peace and renewal that God has for us. Noah's experience in the flood teaches us about the importance of trust and patience. He trusted God from the beginning, obeying His instructions without question. And now, amid the storm, this trust was more vital than ever. The patience of waiting for the end of the flood, not knowing exactly when the waters would recede, is also a valuable lesson. Noah shows us that even in the most challenging moments, we must keep our faith and hope, knowing that God is in control and always fulfills His promises. Life inside the ark was a unique and challenging experience. Imagine living confined in a closed space with your family and a large number of animals for a long period, not knowing exactly when the situation would return to normal. Noah and his family faced this reality with courage and faith. They had to deal with the daily routine of caring for the animals, feeding themselves, maintaining hygiene, and above all, keeping hope alive. The ark was both a refuge and a temporary prison, a place of safety and a test for the patience and endurance of everyone on board. Noah and his family developed a routine to maintain order and health inside the ark. Caring for the animals required constant and coordinated work. They had to ensure that each creature received adequate care, from feeding to cleaning. The forced coexistence also brought emotional and psychological challenges. The lack of privacy, confinement, and uncertainty about the future were aspects that tested everyone's resilience. However, faith in God and the certainty that they were fulfilling a greater purpose helped overcome these daily challenges. Life inside the ark also offers valuable lessons about the importance of cooperation and mutual support in times of crisis. Noah and his family had to work together, each playing their part, to ensure the survival and well-being of everyone on board. This collaboration is a powerful example of how unity and cooperation can help us face difficult situations. Additionally, the patience and perseverance demonstrated by Noah and his family are essential qualities we can apply in our own lives, especially when facing periods of uncertainty and adversity. Life in the ark reminds us that even in times of confinement and difficulties, we can find ways to keep hope and faith. Noah and his family show us that with determination and trust in God, it is possible to overcome any challenge. They also teach us that even amid chaos, we can create a routine and a supportive environment that helps us maintain sanity and hope. The story of life inside the ark is a powerful metaphor for our own experiences of facing storms and finding refuge in faith and cooperation. 40 days and 40 nights of relentless rain tested Noah and his family's faith and perseverance intensely. Each day brought the same reality. The water kept falling, with no sign of the flood diminishing. However, Noah did not waver. He knew that God had a plan and that the rain was part of this process of purification and renewal. Every new day, Noah and his family maintained their routines, caring for the animals, sustaining themselves, and supporting each other. It was a true marathon of faith, where hope was the fuel that kept them firm. The duration of the flood is symbolic and significant. In the Bible, the number 40 often represents periods of trial and transformation. For Noah and his family, these days and nights were a time of reflection, prayer, and spiritual strengthening. They learned to trust God in a deep and intimate way, knowing that He was with them every step of the way. This period of waiting and perseverance teaches us that often, the greatest challenges in our lives are also opportunities for us to grow in faith and character. The incessant rain also brought a sense of purification and renewal. The floodwaters did not just destroy the evil that had spread across the earth, but also prepared the way for a new beginning. Noah and his family knew that when the rain finally stopped, they would have the responsibility to rebuild society and reestablish divine order on earth. This sense of mission and purpose helped them keep hope alive, even on the most difficult days. They were being prepared for something greater, something that would require all their faith and perseverance. The 40 days and nights of rain also challenge us to reflect on our own trials. How do we deal with periods of waiting and uncertainty in our lives? Can we find hope and purpose amid the storms? Noah shows us that with faith and perseverance, we can not only survive the storms but also emerge from them stronger and more prepared to fulfill our divine purpose. His story encourages us to trust God and keep hope alive, knowing that even in the most difficult situations, He is working for our good. After 40 days and nights of rain, Noah's ark continued to float on the waters that covered the earth. The sight of a world completely submerged was both impressive and terrifying. There was no land in sight, only a vast ocean where there were once fields, cities, and mountains. For Noah and his family, this vision reinforced the magnitude of God's judgment and the seriousness of the mission they had received. They were floating on a new world, an earth that would be completely transformed when the waters finally receded. As the ark floated, Noah and his family continued to trust God. They knew they were safe inside the ark, but they also understood that the period of waiting was not over. Patience and perseverance were more necessary than ever. They maintained their daily routines, caring for the animals and each other, while waiting for signs that the land would start to emerge again. This period of floating teaches us about the importance of maintaining faith and calm even when we are amid uncertainty and waiting. The experience of floating on the waters also brought a deep sense of dependence on God. Noah and his family had no control over the direction or the time they would spend in the ark. They were completely at God's mercy, trusting that He would guide them safely through the waters to a new beginning. This total surrender and trust in God is a powerful lesson for all of us. In moments when we feel we have no control, we are called to trust God, knowing that He is in charge and that His promises are always fulfilled. The vision of the submerged world also challenges us to think about transformation and renewal in our own lives. Just as the earth was purified by the floodwaters, we are invited to allow God to transform and renew us, removing evil and corruption from our hearts. Noah and his family emerged from the flood to a new beginning, a new world where they could live according to divine principles. His story encourages us to seek this same renewal in our lives, trusting that after the storms, God always has a new beginning prepared for us. During this wait, Noah sent out a raven and a dove to find signs of dry land. The raven flew back and forth, without returning with any concrete sign. However, the dove returned with an olive leaf, a sign of hope and renewal. This moment must have brought great relief and joy to Noah and his family, confirming that the earth was beginning to emerge again. The olive leaf symbolizes new life and rebirth, a reminder that after judgment, God always brings restoration. Noah teaches us that patience and perseverance are essential in our spiritual journey. Often, we face periods of waiting and uncertainty in our lives, where it seems we are floating without direction. In these moments, we are called to trust God, knowing that He is working behind the scenes. Noah's story encourages us to be patient, to keep faith, and to wait for God's perfect timing, knowing that He never abandons us and always has a plan of renewal and hope for us. Noah's patience also challenges us to reflect on our own ability to wait and trust. In a world where instant gratification is often sought, Noah reminds us that some of the greatest blessings and transformations come through patient waiting and unwavering trust in God. His story encourages us to be resilient, to keep hope alive, and to trust that in God's time, we will see dry land and the renewal He promised. This part of the story teaches us about the importance of seeking signs and confirmations from God in our lives. Just as Noah sent out the raven and the dove, we are called to seek God's guidance and be attentive to the signs He gives us. Sometimes these signs may be small and seemingly insignificant, like an olive leaf, but they carry deep meaning and encourage us to continue trusting and waiting on the Lord. The story challenges us to have spiritual eyes to recognize God's signs amid our circumstances. The journey of the raven and the dove also reminds us that patience and perseverance are rewarded. Noah did not give up after the first unfruitful flight of the raven or the dove. He continued to seek and wait for God's confirmation. This teaches us to be persistent in our search for answers and divine guidance, knowing that God always responds in His perfect time. Noah inspires us to be vigilant, to keep hope alive, and to trust that at the right time, we will see God's signs guiding us to dry land and the renewal He promised. After months of floating and waiting, the long-awaited moment finally arrived. The floodwaters began to recede, and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. For Noah and his family, this was a clear sign that the time of renewal was near. They waited patiently until God commanded them to leave the ark. Imagine the emotion and relief of stepping on dry land again, breathing fresh air, and seeing the new landscape before them. It was a new beginning, an opportunity to rebuild life from the ashes of destruction. Disembarking on the new land was more than a physical relief. It was a spiritual and emotional renewal. Noah and his family were the only survivors of a corrupt generation, chosen for their faith and obedience. As they stepped on dry land, they felt the responsibility of fulfilling the divine mission of repopulating and caring for the earth with new values and principles. This moment marks the beginning of a new era, where humanity had the chance to start over under God's direction and protection. The first thing Noah did upon disembarking was build an altar and offer sacrifices to God in gratitude for salvation and the new opportunity for life. This act of worship and thanksgiving reflects Noah's deep faith and gratitude. He recognized that everything that had happened was the result of divine grace and providence. This moment of worship also teaches us the importance of recognizing and thanking God in our own lives, especially after going through periods of trial and rebirth. The new land that Noah and his family found was a symbol of hope and renewal, but also of responsibility. They were called to be good stewards of God's creation, to live according to His commandments, and to teach future generations about the importance of obedience and faith. The story of disembarking on the new land inspires us to value the second chances we receive and to live in a way that honors God and His creation. It reminds us that even after the most devastating storms, God always offers us a new beginning, full of hope and possibilities. After disembarking and renewing life on earth, God established a covenant with Noah and all future generations. As a sign of this covenant, He placed a rainbow in the sky, promising never to destroy the earth with a flood again. This rainbow is more than a natural phenomenon. It is a profound symbol of God's faithfulness and grace. For Noah and his family, every time they saw the rainbow, they were reminded of God's commitment to protect and care for humanity. This sign of hope and renewal is an eternal reminder of divine mercy. The covenant with God established through the rainbow was a moment of consolidation of faith and hope. Noah and his family, having gone through such a transformative and devastating experience, received this promise as a new foundation for their relationship with God. The rainbow, with its vibrant colors, symbolizes the diversity and beauty of God's creation, and His promise never to bring total destruction to the earth again. This covenant is an invitation for all of us to live in harmony with creation, respecting and caring for the world that God has entrusted to us. The promise of the rainbow also teaches us about the unshakable nature of God's faithfulness. Despite human failures and corruption, God commits to keeping His promises. This commitment gives us security and confidence in our faith journey. We can face challenges and adversities knowing that God is faithful and that His promises are eternal. The story of the rainbow encourages us to remember God's promises in our lives and to trust that He will always be with us, regardless of the circumstances. The rainbow as a sign of the covenant challenges us to reflect on our own commitment to God and creation. Just as Noah and his family were called to be stewards of the new earth, we are called to care for and preserve the world around us. The story reminds us of the importance of environmental responsibility and the care of all God's creatures. It inspires us to live in a way that honors the divine covenant, valuing and protecting creation, and recognizing that we are part of a greater plan of renewal and hope. With the covenant established and the promise of the rainbow in the sky, Noah and his family began to rebuild their lives on the new earth. This was a time of new beginnings, full of challenges and opportunities. They had the responsibility to repopulate the earth and establish a society based on the principles of justice, faith, and obedience to God. Each day brought new tasks and decisions, from building shelters to cultivating the land and creating a united community. This restart was an opportunity to apply the lessons learned during the flood and live according to God's will. Life after the flood was also a time of growth and adaptation. Noah and his family had to learn to live in a world that had been radically transformed. Nature, once devastated by the flood, was in the process of renewal. Plants were growing again, animals were multiplying, and the land was beginning to flourish. This process of reconstruction teaches us about the resilience and capacity for renewal of God's creation. It reminds us that even after the greatest destructions, life can be reborn with strength and beauty. Noah's new beginnings also included the need to establish new social norms and practices. They had to create a culture of respect, collaboration, and worship of God. This period of social reconstruction was crucial to ensure that future generations followed the paths of justice and goodness. Noah, as a leader and patriarch, played a fundamental role in guiding his family and establishing a solid foundation for the new society. His example of leadership and faith continues to inspire leaders and communities today. The story of new beginnings after the flood challenges us to reflect on our own opportunities for a fresh start. We all face moments of transition and renewal in our lives. We can learn from Noah's story that with faith, perseverance, and obedience to God, we can overcome any challenge and build something new and beautiful. We are called to seize these opportunities for a fresh start to live in a way that honors God and benefits those around us. Noah shows us that with God, there is always hope for a new beginning, regardless of the difficulties of the past. With the flood and destruction behind them, Noah and his sons faced the immense task of repopulating and restoring the earth. Undoubtedly, there was a mix of emotions: relief for having survived, and a sense of weight for the responsibility now resting on them. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and together, they formed the foundation of the new humanity. Each son had his role to play, and cooperation between them was vital for the success of their mission. The hard work, determination, and unity of Noah's family are an example of how faith and collaboration can overcome the greatest challenges. Restoring humanity was not just a physical effort, but also a spiritual and moral one. Noah, being a righteous and blameless man, taught his sons the importance of following God's commandments and living according to his principles. This teaching was crucial in establishing a society that honored God and avoided past mistakes. The story shows us that education and the transmission of spiritual and ethical values are fundamental to building a just and prosperous community. Noah and his sons worked together not only to physically rebuild the earth, but to cultivate a culture of faith and justice. Besides physical and spiritual reconstruction, Noah and his sons also faced the task of promoting diversity and multiplicity within the new humanity. Each of Noah's sons gave rise to different peoples and nations, spreading to various regions of the earth. This aspect of the story highlights the importance of diversity and acceptance of differences. God had a plan for humanity to be rich in cultures, languages, and traditions, reflecting the multiplicity of his creation. Noah's story encourages us to value and celebrate diversity as an integral part of the divine plan. The restoration of humanity led by Noah and his sons offers valuable lessons for our times. In times of reconstruction and change, we are called to work together, teach, and live according to solid ethical principles, and value the diversity around us. Noah's story reminds us that even after great calamities, we can find strength and inspiration in faith and family unity. We are challenged to be agents of restoration and hope, contributing to the creation of a society that honors God and promotes justice and peace. After the flood, Noah dedicated himself to farming, planting a vineyard and cultivating the land. This transition from building the ark to agriculture is a testament to Noah's adaptability and hardworking spirit. He was not only rebuilding his life and that of his family, but also contributing to the earth's restoration. Noah's dedication to vineyard cultivation symbolizes rebirth and fertility after the flood's devastation. His hard work and ability to transform the environment around him are powerful examples of resilience and renewal. Noah's story and the vineyard also present a lesson about the dangers of excess and lack of self-control. One day, Noah drank the wine he had produced and became drunk, leading to an embarrassing incident involving his sons. Ham, upon seeing his father naked, did not show respect and told his brothers, while Shem and Japheth covered Noah with respect and dignity. This episode highlights the importance of self-control and respect for others. Even a righteous man like Noah was not exempt from flaws, and this story reminds us that we are all vulnerable and need to be vigilant in our conduct. The incident with the wine and the reaction of Noah's sons also reveal family dynamics and moral values. The response of Shem and Japheth, covering their father with respect, contrasts sharply with Ham's disrespectful attitude. This led to blessings and curses pronounced by Noah on his sons, impacting future generations. This story emphasizes the importance of family respect, honor, and integrity. It teaches us that our actions have consequences and that how we treat others, especially our family members, can have a lasting impact. Noah, as a farmer and father, offers lessons on hard work, resilience, and the importance of moral character. His dedication to cultivating the land after the flood is an example of how we can find purpose and renewal through work and perseverance. The story of the wine warns us about the dangers of excess and the importance of mutual respect. Noah inspires us to seek balance in our lives, work diligently, and treat others with honor and dignity, recognizing that our actions significantly impact our families and communities. The mistakes of Ham and the correct actions of Shem and Japheth offer valuable lessons on responsibility and character. Ham failed to show respect and sensitivity at a crucial moment, while his brothers demonstrated the virtues of compassion and honor. These qualities are essential in all relationships, especially in families. The story teaches us always to seek to act with integrity and respect, even when confronted with the weaknesses and flaws of others. This creates an environment of support and dignity, promoting healthy and strong relationships. The story of Ham and his brothers also challenges us to reflect on how we deal with mistakes, both ours and others. We are called to act with grace, compassion, and respect, always seeking the well-being of others and the preservation of human dignity. We learn that our actions have lasting consequences and that through integrity and respect, we can build a positive legacy for future generations. Noah and his sons show us that even after great trials, the way we choose to react and treat others defines the kind of society and legacy we leave behind. Noah's legacy is one of the most significant and enduring in human history. His obedience, faith, and perseverance not only ensured the survival of his family and animal species, but also established an eternal example of faithfulness to God. Noah is often remembered as a hero of faith, even mentioned in the New Testament scriptures as a model of righteousness and obedience. Through his actions, he left a legacy that influenced generations upon generations, shaping the history of God's people. Noah and his descendants repopulate the earth, and their stories intertwine with the biblical narrative. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, his sons, gave rise to various nations and peoples, each playing a role in God's redemptive history. The lineage of Shem, for example, is particularly significant as it includes Abraham, the patriarch of the nations of Israel, and many others. This continuity of faith and obedience through the generations shows how God works through families and lineages to fulfill his divine purposes. The impact of Noah's legacy goes beyond his direct descendants. His story is a perpetual reminder of the importance of righteousness, obedience, and trust in God. Noah lived in a time of great corruption and evil but remained faithful, showing that it is possible to live a righteous life even amid adversities. His life challenges us to maintain our faith and principles, regardless of the circumstances around us. He inspires us to be examples of integrity and faith for future generations, knowing that our actions can have a lasting impact. The story of Noah and his legacy invites us to reflect on the type of legacy we are leaving. We are called to live in a way that honors God and benefits others, creating a positive impact that endures through generations. Noah teaches us that faith and obedience to God are fundamental to building a lasting legacy. He inspires us to persevere in our spiritual journey, trusting that just as God was faithful with Noah, he will be faithful with us and our future generations. Noah reminds us that through our acts of faith, we can leave a legacy of hope, righteousness, and renewal. Noah's story is a powerful narrative of faith, obedience, and renewal. From the moment he received the divine call to build the ark to the covenant sealed with the rainbow, Noah demonstrated unwavering trust in God. His life shows us that true faith involves listening to and obeying God, even when the circumstances seem impossible or incomprehensible. Noah teaches us that obedience to God can lead us through the most devastating storms and bring us to a place of renewal and hope. Noah not only saved his family and numerous animal species, but also established an eternal example of righteousness and faith. He is a model of how we should live our lives, trusting in God and following his instructions with integrity and dedication. His story reminds us that even in a corrupt and evil-filled world, it is possible to live a righteous and obedient life to God. Noah challenges us to be faithful in our own journeys, knowing that God is with us and that his promises are always true. God's covenant with Noah, symbolized by the rainbow, is a constant reminder of his mercy and faithfulness. God promised never to destroy the earth with a flood again, and this promise is a sign of his love and care for all creation. Noah and his family were the first to experience this new covenant, but it extends to all generations, including ours. We are called to live according to the principles of this covenant, caring for the earth and each other with respect and reverence. The conclusion of Noah's story encourages us to reflect on our own faith and obedience. Like Noah, we are called to hear God's voice and follow his commandments, trusting that he will guide and protect us. Noah inspires us to be resilient, to persevere in the face of adversity, and always to seek renewal and hope in God. His life is a powerful testimony that with faith and obedience, we can overcome any challenge and live in a way that honors God and benefits future generations. If If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Your participation is very important to us. See you next time.